Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Hello, this is Joe Grumbine, the host of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'd like to welcome you to today's episode. This is part 8 of overcoming cancer and other obstacles. And if you are just joining us for the first time, I was diagnosed with the squamous cell carcinoma on October 15th, 2024, and I am sharing my journey of recovery and victory with everybody through this podcast. I encourage you to start from the beginning and listen to the whole thing because many of the episodes are building on each other. Sometimes I'll reference something that if you didn't listen to the previous episode, you just won't know what it is. But either way, I hope to inspire other people that are going through difficult times of their life and or dealing with cancer. So today I'm going to talk about stress. And as I understand it, the whole concept of cancer is generated from stress. So you have, and there's lots of reasons that it can occur besides maybe specifically stress, but I would have to say stress plays a huge role in it. So you have otherwise normal cells that replicate and your genetic code gets passed along. And then at one point, or at several points, because of stressors, whether they're environmental, things that you come in contact with, chemicals, etc., carcinogens, or maybe it's your diet, or maybe it is just unhealthy environment. Maybe it's trauma. Maybe there's just so many ways that stress come into our lives. And it's a cold, prickly, stressful world out there. There's most things that you come in contact either don't have your best interest in mind or don't care about you one way or the other. And once in a while, you find someone or something that is on your side. And when you do, I would say definitely gravitate towards those things. When I was diagnosed, I had this lump on my neck for a while, and it's not like, boom, it popped up one day. It's been a couple of years in the coming, and I went through various stages of, it's just a swollen lymph node, it's just a cyst, it's just a thing to, holy shit, I better get this looked at. And through the course of it all, there's a part of me that always said, well, let's look at this. What if it happened to be the worst case scenario? What are you going to do? And I always said, well, I'll do everything I possibly can, and I will go at this from all directions. And that's what I'm doing, and that's the story I'm sharing. But when it actually happened, when I got the phone call, it was probably about 3, 4 o'clock. It was later than I thought I would receive a call. My phone rings, and it's Riverside Medical Clinic, and pick up the phone, and it's actually the doctor. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, hopefully he's got some good news for me. I had a biopsy done 2 weeks previously, and I was waiting for this call. I was hoping to get it, and I thought because of how long it took that the odds were in my favor, the news was going to be good. And I gave it all the possible good thoughts and intentions and all of that good stuff. Trust me, I gave it all. I saw the right answer, all of it. And I got, the bad news instead of the good news. And so when that happened, something inside of me said, okay, now you're at war. And you probably should have been at war a long time ago, but now you're at war. And this is a special kind of war because many times in war, you get yourself hyped up and, you have to go and fight this enemy and you physically exert yourself and you physically go after, you know, this stress. So you give yourself stress to go and attack this thing. Well, in this case, it's kind of the opposite. I know that I have these cells. I'm looking at them right now. They're sticking out of my neck. I've got this giant friggin' softball sticking out of my neck right now, and it's hideous. And I look at it and I tell it, you got to go. You don't belong here. You're not part of me. All of these things. But the one thing I know is that somehow when I get stressed, it gets stronger and I get weaker. And whether it's the cortisol or whether it's whatever. And so today, or the last couple of days, I got hit with a series of stresses, and I don't know why it seems to happen. I think there is some element of a spiritual warfare going on right now, and I can't begin to explain what that means. I just know that whenever I am in a situation where I've got, something really challenging that I face, I seem to get bombarded at my weakest points. And so, like last night, I spent the day with my aunt, and I was touring this retreat center, and it's a trade school for boys and young men. And it was an amazing experience. And I was prayed over and anointed, and I just had all these great things happen. But at the same time, I knew that, my business is suffering right now, and I need to be out there doing everything I can to make it happen. So I was sacrificing that. So there's a little lingering stress about that, but I let it go. I said, this is an opportunity. I'm just gonna, keep it in God's hands and not trip on it. And then on my way home, my wife sends me a message or calls me up and says she sliced the tip of her finger off. And what should she do? And just, I just got stressed. And I said, wow, I'm on the freeway. There's nothing I can do right now. You got to make a call, get yourself to the hospital or, try to tape it up. I mean, I'm just not there though. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not looking at it, and put me in a really difficult spot. And of course, I don't blame her for that. Obviously, she had an accident and I wanted to help her, but I'm not a medic, and I don't know always the best answer when somebody gets hurt. Sometimes I do, but this was just a weird call, She literally sliced off the tip of it and it wasn't connected anymore. When I did it a few years back, it was still connected, so it was a different set of events. And so the whole time so we're stuck in traffic, and I'm just, stressing. And I don't generally stress, but today, this was just I was powerless. It was almost like when I was locked up in jail, and my wife called me up and was telling me about some things that were happening that I couldn't do anything about. And again, it was that kind of, just powerless stress, and I'm generally not a powerless person. And then when I got home from work today, to go deal with our mental health group that comes out, I was, uh, I asked my wife, how's your finger? How can I, let me help you? We got a little bit of time. And then she goes ahead and says, well, you got to watch out for the hill because there's when you can't let gravel get on the hill. And then she shows me a picture how she fell and her knees are all skinned up. I'm like, Jesus, what is next? What do you want me to do? I can't sit there and babysit you all the time. And now, one more thing and one more thing and one more thing. And I feel bad, but at the same time, I have to take care of myself here. And I just said, well, I'm going to tear out that walkway and make steps there. And that way we don't have to worry about it. She gets all mad. And I just said, well, fuck, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be stressed. I'm not going to have this. So now I'm sitting here in a spot where I just got to let go and say, you know what? I'm not gonna trip on it. It sucks. I don't know if my marriage is gonna survive this, frankly. It will, because I'm not gonna let it go, but is it gonna be good? I got to deal with this for the rest of my life and just have this whatever. I don't know. I do know that I'm not gonna let myself be stressed, and I will be no good to go and put a whole bunch of effort at making a marriage good when I'm not even alive. So it may sound like I'm a shitty person here, but I have to take care of this. I have to take care of myself. The one thing I know since this has happened, or since I've been aware of it, is that I will not let stress come in. And even, like I said, this is a pretty rough example where I'm being bombarded with, and I frankly think it's evil spirits. I don't know what else to say. And you can think I'm nuts. I don't care. I just know that the way it happens, the way the energy is, the way it's always at that one point where I need help, at that one point where we're almost there, at that one point where, if it just goes good, we'll be okay. Bam, bam, bam. You just get hit with these obstacles, these problems, and these things that, you had to deal with. And clearly I'm not a perfect person. I reacted poorly, and you feel the cortisol running through your body, and I'm like, geez, now I gotta overcome this once again. So um when people come into my circle, into my existence, and I sense that they're these problem people or vampires, I nip them really quickly. If a acute problem like this happens, I look at it and I figure out, can I do something about this or not? In this case, I know if I tear out this walkway I didn't put it there, but it was put there and it's way too steep and sand gets on it all the time. And, her answer is keep the broom there and sweep, 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 always sweep. Well, that's not a viable answer in my book. We can't have this thing where you have to stop what you're doing and sweep every 5 minutes. I don't consider that a viable answer. We need something that can handle a little sand falling on it. And so my answer is get out there and do the hard work and fix this thing. And so I got my sledgehammer out and I started pounding on this walkway, and I will remove it and I will replace it with stairs. It's going to take a lot of work and some time, and we'll have to just all deal with that. When anybody comes into my world right now and they try to bring stress, I have a lady that I work with, or I'm not going to give her name, but she has all kinds of problems, health problems, issues. And, we're getting ready to become partners in a business. And she just keeps hitting me with, well, I need this and I need that. And I'm just like, I can't do more than I'm doing right now. I already make the products, already fulfill the orders. I already ship everything. I do, a good chunk of this business. And, every time you turn around, you need to know how many of this do we have? How many of that do we have? And can you make this? And do we, and it's, I'm not going to be held hostage. That's always been sort of a term that I've had. Will not be held hostage by anybody for any reason. And so, I've had to say, look, I'm going to do the best I can. And if you can't handle it, maybe this won't work out. And, she had the good sense to sit on it for a couple of days and come back and apologize. And I said, look, I can handle, these outbursts, but I'm not going to take on any stress. With the nonprofit, all the time people say they're going to do stuff, they don't do it. I just say, well, it's out of my control. I'm not going to worry about it. It's in God's hands, and I'm going to do the best I can, but I'm not going to, turn this into a stressor. Um, what do we do to avoid stress? Um, Most definitely, eating a good diet, I think, is helpful. I'm not eating, toxic foods, so I think that that's definitely reduces stress on my body. Um, I get good night's sleep every night, so I'm not walking around cranky all the time. I get good physical exercise. I think that helps to reduce stress. I go out in the garden. So today, after this whole issue, we had our mental health group come over, and originally they wanted to do an activity. And it was horrible because they walked in and I was yelling at my wife, and I'm just like, oh God, that's what I need is this group that I'm supposed to be helping watch me be, a raging asshole for a minute. And I just went out in the garden and just started working out there. And I gave myself my own garden therapy, and it works. I spend as much time in the gardens as I can, working with, planting and building with rocks and digging in the water and just keeping my hands connected to the garden is very therapeutic and helpful. So that's another thing that I do. I'm getting ready to go into my sauna. I have a steam sauna, and I go in as often as I can. Um, I meditate. I will have a fire and, you know, spend time with the fire, meditate, doing things like plant medicine and ceremonies are very de-stressing. So I've worked with peyote, I've worked with combo, I've worked with cannabis, I've worked with mushrooms, um, planning to work with ayahuasca at one point. Um, these are all things that help to remove and reduce stress. And I just think it's really important if you're fighting a battle with health, especially if you're dealing with cancer, is don't let stresses come at you. Um, Life is just full of them. And whether, like I said, whether it's happenstance, whether it's karma, whether it's spirits, it doesn't really matter now, does it? What does matter is what we do with it. And so surround yourself with people that care about you. You get that oxytocin flowing, find somebody to hug and love, and those things take the stress away. Have some good sex. Just things that bring you that relaxing enjoyment. Spend time with those things, and just don't let those aggravating people and elements get to you. So, anyways, that's my bit for today, and we will talk soon. The saga continues, and I have so many more pieces to share, and we're just going to keep going till we have our victory party. All right. Thank you for joining us, and we'll hope to see you soon. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.